Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 42 of the VR Inside podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show that is live streamed every Saturday on Nathie's YouTube channel. You can tune into the show now at the new live times of 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. If you missed the live stream, you can catch up with the whole show as I re-upload it on my own YouTube channel every Sunday at Virtual Reality Oasis. Or check out the audio-only version, which is available on Google Play Music, iTunes, and on SoundCloud. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat, and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. So this week's show is actually pre-recorded, so I was actually away. It's my birthday on Friday, and I'm doing stuff away on Saturday, so I'm going to be away.
Happy
so
birthday, Mike!
Oh, thanks, guys. That's why we're pre-recording it, so I hope you guys and girls understand. But if you're new to the show and you don't know who the heck we are, then let me introduce you to the team. This guy, he's had to take a sort of cure potion this week because he had to reverse the effects of a magical spell that he drank. He drank this mystical potion, and now his beard is gone and his hair has grown back, and he's back to his usual self again. So, of course, it is Nathie. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm back on track once again, right? And it was fun being you in a way. Maybe I should have waited a little longer until I could like eat some free cake because it's soon your birthday, or it already happened, right? Like we're in the past right now.
Yeah. You're speaking to the future.
Hello, future. What's up?
You got any advice for the future, Nathie?
Yeah. So Nathie. Be nice to everyone, you know, and make that video content. I'm sure you uploaded something on Friday as well, and you're doing a stream on Saturday because it's a podcast, and just be yourself, you know. That's all I.
Wow. Wow, I feel like we're kind of like.
It's such a random question. I don't even know what to say.
We don't even know anymore. We don't even know anymore.
Sorry, I'm confused.
No, but I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're back to normal.
Thank you.
So next up, when this guy isn't escaping from prisons, he's robbing banks to put himself back into prison. There's just something about prisons he just loves so much. It is, of course, RowdyGuy. How you doing, dude? You all right?
I'm doing all right, man. You hit it spot on there. You know, if I'm not robbing banks, I'm probably in prison, and the two probably have something to do with each other as well. But yeah, I'm all right. You know, it's a lovely Wednesday evening here. The World Cup is starting. Belgium is doing pretty well. Hopefully. They're playing actually on Saturday, so it's actually good that I don't have to do the podcast because I can actually watch Belgium. They won the previous match, but that was against Panama. So now on Saturday they're playing against Tunisia, and then I think on Tuesday or Thursday, I think on Thursday they're playing against England. So it's gonna be Mike versus Rowdy in that period, right?
Yeah. But if you're watching the show live and you didn't realize that the World Cup was on, and Rowdy's just told you don't stay around and watch the rest of the show, and then watch the World Cup whenever, because you're going to be able to watch that whenever. You're only going to see this once. Well, I do re-upload it, so there is a kind of
this is a podcast that explodes afterwards, right? It's like a
stick around. That's all I'm saying. Okay, next up, he's taking a well-earned break. Zimtok 5 reporting live from the sunny beach in Barbados. Actually, no, that's not actually true, is it, Zim? Where are you in the world?
No, I'm in Cork in Ireland, and our beaches here are slightly more rocky than pictured.
But you got such a lovely background, like, you know, and you look so happy as well.
Ireland, I look shocked, and rightfully so. It's all lies. It's all lies this week on this podcast.
Yeah. So good to hear that you're okay, though, dude. Glad you could join us in audio form. You know, it's something better than nothing anyway. You know, we'd rather have you there. So last but by no means least, myself, the host of the show, Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about appearing in 360 VR movies. But the problem is, are these movies any good or not? Well, stay tuned and we'll find out. Also, how to feel like you're part of the World Cup itself. And I'll be telling you your options for watching the big games in virtual reality. And then finally, we're going to be talking about more coverage from E3. So we kind of ran out of time last week. We're all getting very hyped about all the content that Nathie was telling us about from E3. So we're just going to catch up on some of the sort of bits that we missed and talk some games. So like we're going to be talking about Firewall, Creed Rise to Glory, Ghost Giant, and Arcas Path as well. So we'll be talking about that. But first up, let's find out what everyone's been playing in this extremely short week since we spoke to each other last. I wonder how much we've actually played in this short time. So let me kick it over to Rowdy first while Nathie wrecks his brain.
Yeah, dang it, I was doing the same. I still need to look up what I played. No. I can tell.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Nathie.
You don't need to fight about it. Like, come on. Rowdy first.
Right. Well, I played Arizona Sunshine this week, the new DLC. I dove into that one. Yeah, that one. Yeah, they made a game or something, you know, I don't know. Yeah, it's the DLC that came out. Apparently it's fairly short. I think I roughly played like half an hour and then I took a break, but I think I'm already near the end. It's much darker than the previous game, which I found a little bit peculiar because that was one of the things that I really liked about like the previous one. It was set in the daytime, which you don't really get that often with zombie games. They're often like dark and although there's another zombie game, but it's not a VR game that is also set during the daytime. They have a day and night cycle. I like it when they do that. But
Dying Light?
Yeah, Dying Light. I really like how they did that one. I had a little bit of that feeling as well with Arizona Sunshine, with the sunset and all of that stuff. Really bright environments. I really like that. But this one felt much more darker. It's just set at night. You go into like some kind of nuclear base, so everything is underground. It's much darker, and I think I played roughly 30 minutes, and I might already be nearing the end.
Yeah.
So it's fairly short. It's fairly short.
Yeah. And this time round, you like a military guy, or are you just a survivor like you were in the original game?
I think you're still the same guy, because I remember the ending of Arizona Sunshine, the original game, spoiler for those who haven't played, so you're being picked up by a helicopter and you fly away, and that's how the game ends. And with this one, I think you're actually being dropped by a helicopter, so I kind of assumed it was the same helicopter, and there's this guy from the military is telling you, oh, we're gonna nuke the entire town and we're gonna blow everything up, so you need to go down and get the launch codes and blow up the place. And that doesn't take that long to do, actually. You only need to find like a few keys. It's fairly easy to nuke an entire town. Yeah, you just need to find a key and put it in and twist it, and the entire place blows up.
It seems like it's an extreme solution to the problem. Like, it's gone to rats. Just nuke it.
Yeah, especially since they're gonna nuke actually the place that you're standing in, and then they're gonna give you 1.5 minutes to get out. Like, I'm like, 1.5 minute for like a nuclear explosion is a little bit ridiculous, but. Yeah, that's just how they did it. Yeah.
So it's not particularly expensive, I don't think, the DLC. It's only like a few pounds or a few dollars. But do you think it's worth that sort of amount of money? Like, do you think it's worth jumping back in again, or not so much?
I don't know. It's a difficult choice because I kind of liked the original Arizona Sunshine, but that was also because it felt so much different from the other VR games that were out. And I kind of have the impression that now there's like a lot of VR games that might actually be better that are actually out, and you might be spending your money on there. I still like Arizona Sunshine because I had like the multiplayer, although it never really worked properly for me and for Nathie either. But I kind of like the first original one with the storyline, and if it's like a bundle package, you get this for free. But I wouldn't buy the game for this DLC for sure. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like you say though, like I had a ton of fun with the original game. But I think, like you say, because it was one of the first ones that was really, really great. It was very immersive, and now it has like free locomotion and everything else. So yeah, it's kind of one of those games that, if you can get it on a deal now, because it is cheap and it comes up in sales regularly, then you should definitely pick it up. And like you said, the DLC is cheap enough, but it's only like maybe half an hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah, and another thing I played this week was actually something per recommendation of Nathie, was the Google Spotlight stories. I played 2 of those. Actually, I think the video is just released. It's Wednesday, so I released it on Wednesday. I played the Piggy and Back to the Moon, really fun experience, very short, but they actually show what you can do with 360 video in VR and still make it really fun. I had no interaction, so no motion controllers or anything. It's just basically a very short story that plays out in front of you, much like the things that we see for like I think like Henry, for example, or like those kind of things. It's very short, but it's kind of cool to see that play out. And they use like I did like that with Piggy. They use like the gaze of you to like you need to like constantly look around. They really use the 360 kind of degrees that you have with the VR headset. It's a pretty neat experience, and it's free. It's free on the Steam store. Would
you say that's sort of on par with the quality of Henry? Is it that good?
No. I still think that is better, also because they now released the 5K version, but the stories, they have multiple stories, you know, it's multiple parts, and with Henry's just one story that you have, at least I think, right?
Yeah.
There's multiple stories, completely different kind of scenes. They have music, they have much more like intimate experiences. They have it's a nice change of things. And Nathie probably played a few more as well. He probably knows more about that as well.
Yeah. Cool. So what about you then, Nathie? Now you've had time to sort of rack your brains.
So, well, first of all, like my favorite like Google VR experience is Pearl. I think that's like the best one you can watch.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, if you haven't checked that one out, it's free. And it's on Steam and home and everywhere as far as I know. But what I played is Anne Frank House VR. My brother told me to check it out because I was at E3 and it launched around that time, so I totally missed the launch, and it was very impressive, you know, in a way where you get like a historical lesson, but you kind of feel like you're in history, you know, you step back in time and you really went somewhere that has such a beautiful and sad story, you know. So in Anne Frank House VR, you go to the house where Anne Frank was hiding from the Nazis, you know, with her family and other people, Jewish people. It's like it's not an interactive tour, I would say. It's more like you go to different rooms and you can just stand there. It's not positional tracked. You can just look around. It's like you're in different 360s. And you can then point your controller at like little text balloons, and they will tell a part of her like diary. So she tells more about what she did in that room, or how she feels, or what's going on. But it's very immersive. Like the sounds and how everything has been rendered is super nice. And I kind of felt like her presence within the demo. So let's say for youngsters, this is a very important thing that is out there, and it shows like the power of VR storytelling. I can remember that when I went to school and I learned about like Anne Frank, of course I knew it was important, but it was kind of like I didn't feel that much with that. Like, we have never been in war. It's kind of hard to kind of understand, right? And with VR, you can kind of be there together with her and hear her voice and kind of, you know what I mean? So it's more like, okay, now I finally feel or
like understand. A connection with the character.
Yeah. Well, when you learn it from a textbook, it's not really alive, or it doesn't. And this impacted me so much more. So it's beautiful. It has been made by Forcefield, who also made that roller coaster and also that animal game on the Oculus Go. What is the name again? The
Coaster Combat. Is that the one?
Coaster Combat and the one where you can make like little baby animals.
Pet Labs.
Pet Labs,
exactly. So they, like, Forcefield made it together with Oculus, and also a collaboration with Anne Frank House VR or Anne Frank House as like an organization. So it's a must try, it's a must experience, and it's free. You can check it out on the Oculus Go and the Oculus Rift. And it's kind of weird, like usually I'm not that serious, but this one was like really, it hit me hard. I'm sure you guys have seen me tweet about it too. It was very, very impressive.
Have you ever been to the Anne Frank house?
No, it was like the first time as well. So not being there and then go there for the first time in VR, I'm sure like it's going to be even more impressive when you are going there in real life. But being able to go there in VR and then hear the voice of Anne Frank, not seeing any tourists as well, by the way, because it's a busy place. You need to stand in a queue for a very long time. Like it's a popular place in Amsterdam, as far as I know. People go there every day. So being able to go in VR and stand in all these rooms as long as you want and just get the feel for it was amazing.
And also, like, the thing is, like, me and Nathie, we have pretty easy access to go to a place like that, but I can imagine a lot of people, especially on different continents, they're not able to do that. Simple as. Well, it's still a very educative experience.
Yes, and more importantly is that since like Anne Frank and her family, they were hiding in like behind the bookcase, right, the famous bookcase. There was like a staircase going up, and for people that are restricted in a way, they will not be able to go up there. So you can just be there in a total different way. So I think like both ways is super special. Going there in real life is definitely an experience, I'm sure, but doing it in VR and hearing her voice talking about her life is also something that you shouldn't miss. So both of these ways are as important, I think. So,
and I think it's like you said, it's important that we've got these stories that can be reimagined in VR. So like you say, people can, like, especially youngsters that are going through school and stuff like that, can really sort of learn and feel that connection with her, because she was young as well. So they can, that she was that kind of age. And I really want to see this develop more in the future. So, maybe one for the Titanic and other historical events as well, because I think like you said, when you feel like you've experienced it firsthand, you kind of make memories of it, and then you kind of remember the events in more detail than just reading it off a page. And I think we're kind of just getting exposed to like the future of education with VR as well, with these kind of experiences and the potential of them. I think it's really, really interesting indeed.
And also with the thing is with the experience from Anne Frank, because she wrote a diary. It's I always said like VR is a storytelling medium. You can really tell really good stories with virtual reality. And since there is already a story available from Anne Frank, it's so nice to get that in a new medium as well, I think.
Yeah, it's a very powerful tool, and this shows the potential once again of VR storytelling. And as I said in my video, if Anne Frank would have known about this experience, I think she would have loved it, because she wanted her story to be out there, and this is a new way to tell her story once again. So.
Very, very cool indeed. So yeah, definitely go and check that one out. Anne Frank's house on the Rift and the Go for free. So brilliant. So Zim, what about you, dude?
I've been busy adding another notch to my Oculus Go belt.
Wow.
I've done a few things. I've done a Go on a beach. I've done a Go, in a yard. I've done a Go on a plane. So this time I did a Go on a boat, and I think that was a more impactful experience than I was expecting. And kind of doing this tour of duty with the Go has been really fun, because I've been asking myself the question: does it matter if you do VR in a different place? Like, does it really? Is it going to affect me in any way psychologically or whatever? And I have to say that on a boat, it absolutely did. And I'll relate my little story to you now. So, out of all the apps, I was like, what app makes most sense? Although I'm not a huge fan of the app, I think it does a decent job on the go. And it's Ocean Rift is what I picked. I didn't go for VR porn this time, Rowdy. Thank you. But
I thought you were already a member of the Mile High Club now with your Oculus Go,
Yeah. So anyway, I was there on the boat side. God, you have now twisted my story. This is going to sound very different. So anyway, when you're getting hit in the face with ocean spray, right? Just that light kind of feathering of ocean spray lapping against your face. I figured, why not swim amongst with the dolphins? So I'm doing that. God, there's triple facepalm happening now. I've never seen that on this podcast yet. This is beautiful, lads. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, I'm not just here in audio form. I'm actually in the Go watching the lads on like 6-second delay and their beautiful faces. So this is a bit of a new one for me as well. So anyway, the dolphins was grand. Like, that was fine. But then I said, you know what, Zim, man up, right? Get in with the shark, go for a great white. So I dropped into the great white experience on the app, and they put you in a shark cage. First off, I thought I'd be in the water, and for some reason, the shark cage straight away, it flipped that switch in my brain, which was like, this boat could sink. You could be out there in the Atlantic, and you will have sharks actually nipping at your toes. This is probably not something you should be doing. And literally, I lasted about 20 seconds before,
Wow.
and then when the shark was coming at the cage, I was like, no, feck this. I can't do it. I literally opted out. And you guys know, I've done all the toughest stuff.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I just literally couldn't. I couldn't hold. So I had to come out. But it was a brilliant thing to do. Another one. And I did joke out with a tweet saying I'd do outer space next. That might be a few hops from here. But the go actually went really well. I didn't find there was any like added nausea or anything. You guys know I've got pretty hardy legs anyway. And I think the go so far has demonstrated it can really be used anywhere, which is bloody fantastic.
That's an awesome story, dude. And just explain to the viewers and the listeners how you're doing this right now. So we've got you audio only because the latency of your video is too much. So we've got you audio, which we can hear you loud and clear. But you're actually re-watching us stream this so you can talk to us and see our lovely faces. But you're actually doing that with the Go headset on.
Yeah, so the Go headset browser is really comfortable. And it's kind of like sitting in a movie theater. So I've got you three lads up on a big movie theater screen. I'm sitting here in my conservatory at my parents' house in Cork in Ireland out in the countryside. And I'm watching Rowdy wave. So there you go.
So cool. Yeah, nice one, man. Nice one. So this week, I didn't really get a chance to play that much VR because it only has been like a few days since we talked last. But I do want to talk about a game, and I think Rowdy's going to be happy about this one. I've been playing, you're going to hate me for this, but I've been playing Detroit Becoming Human, which is a pancake game. It was on PS4, and I just want to talk about it very briefly because it was a really cool game, and it's one of those rare games that actually really sort of have pulled me away from VR for a short amount of time. But don't worry, I'm back in the metaverse now. It was a short fling, and I've resolved my problems, and I'm back again. But I just want to talk about it because if you've not heard of this game and you've got a PlayStation 4, then you really deserve you owe it to yourself to go out and buy it and check it out because it's very, very cool. It's more of like an interactive movie than it is a game. Wouldn't you say so, Rowdy?
Yeah, I agree completely with that. And also the thing, I think, because we both played it, we talked about it quite a bit in like a private chat. But the thing is, like, something like this would work so well for virtual reality.
Oh, yes, totally.
So,
totally.
Like very like scenic, very like, you in the game you have fixed cameras, so that would need to be solved. But just that detective genre of like, looking around and interacting with very simple objects, because the only thing you do is look in and choose an options, that would just work so well with virtual reality. Yeah,
like I totally agree. Like the game, the premise of the game is basically you follow the story of 3 different androids. You've got Marcus, Kara, and Connor. They both are very different androids, both different personalities. Marcus is kind of like a guy that looks after a disabled man. Kara is kind of like a helper at home where she's kind of caught up in this like domestic violence situation. And then Connor's like this kind of detective android that helps out with the local police force. And they've all got these different stories and different sort of like agendas. And you play all 3 of them at different times, and then the stories kind of intertwine at the end. But like Rowdy said, whilst I was playing it, I was getting so sort of into the game. I was thinking as well, like how great it would be to experience this firsthand. So you sort of are one of the androids, and you sort of understand their sort of internal struggles, and you get to choose the dialogue options within virtual reality. It would have been so great because, like you said, there wasn't really any sort of there's some action scenes like quick time events, but other than that, there were mainly sort of static cameras, and it was the dialogue that pushed the game forward. And that was what really sort of made me want something like this in virtual reality, something that has branching storylines where the decisions you make really affect the outcome of the game. Because like you said, Rowdy, we were communicating throughout the week and sort of saying, oh, this happened, did this happen to you? And you were like, dude, that totally didn't happen to me. I don't know how you managed to mess it up so much that happened for you. But that was really, really nice. And that's something that we haven't really seen much in VR yet. Is like a real
the Invisible Hours is the one that does that, not really with the branching stories, but since there is a single story that is being played out, but you can like follow the different kind of characters and see how they what they are doing at that point in time. That was a really original concept, and I would really like to see more of that kind of stuff being developed in VR as well.
Yeah, I mean, we have been talking about this before in the podcast, like some kind of heavy rain kind of like game. Funny enough, when I played The Vector last week, you do have a few options, but you don't really see that many VR games where you have that much of a deep like decision. It's usually like one way or another, and it sometimes ends up the same way. But it's not like going left and then it goes left and right again, but then right goes left and right, and then it keeps on like it's like a tree, you know, and it goes all over the place.
But there's a simple explanation for that. I mean, the reason why a game like that is not being developed for VR is because it just takes enormous amounts of time to make something like this, and if it takes enormous amount of time, it needs to bring in enormous amounts of money, and the market is just not there for VR at the moment. You know, it's a growing market at the point in time.
We can have a game like that, but then it's a 10-minute game.
But there's a question here that I have for you, lads, on this point. So, would you prefer like an infinite, expanse kind of Minecraft style procedural game, or would you prefer one with 10 branches?
I prefer a curated game rather than an open-ended procedural game.
Me as well.
Yeah, same here.
Because I generally feel that the quality of procedurally generated games isn't generally as high as a curated experience.
Yeah, and that's kind of what, like, for instance, Elite Dangerous does, right? It kind of lays out, hey, there's 4 billion stars to go visit. Yeah, but they're all kind of samey, and what's the point of me going out there? What am I actually going to find? Probably nothing. And if that's the bait on the end of the hook, I don't want it. I'd rather go, as you say, Mike, down a channeled experience that only has 10 possibilities. Yeah,
exactly. Like Moss, for example, it's only like a 2.5 hour game, but I loved it. It was a great experience, and it was a curated one.
I think like the mix between the two can be a little bit cool as well. I mean, not really like procedural generated, but so much open world that it feels like it's like a living, procedural world. Like if you take Skyrim, for example, it's so big, there's so much stuff to do. You don't have to follow that predetermined path. You can pretty much go off and do whatever you want to do. GTA has that as well. You have a branching storyline that you can follow from A to Z, and the game is finished. But you can also play the game for like 120 hours and not even touch the main storyline. And I think that is a very, very cool thing if you can get that in a game. Yeah.
And that also takes a lot of time. Maybe with Stormland we're gonna see that. Who knows? But as you said, like something like Skyrim, but like Stormland, like even comparing Stormland to, let's say, Skyrim, and Stormland isn't even out yet, it will never get close to Skyrim because there's so much more man hours in that. Like those development teams for VR aren't even there yet.
Yeah, definitely.
The game that sort of touches on that very sort of in a similar way is From Other Suns. You've got that kind of overarching story. Levels are procedurally generated, so that mixes it up a little bit. But yeah, like I think we're a way off. But it was kind of one of those experiences. I really enjoyed playing it. I finished it now, so I'm back into the metaverse. But it was one of those games that I wanted to mention because it really sort of drew me in terms of its storytelling, and it just makes me sort of crave something like that in VR. And that was the thing. Like the whole time I was playing it, I was just like, I wish this was in VR, and that's the thing. So I think, like you say, we're a few years away from something like that being developed for VR, but I really hope that is the future, and that's where we're eventually going to end up, for sure. So that's what we've been playing this week. So let's move on to some quick news. So first up, the Oculus Rift Core 2.0 beta has been updated this week. If you're not familiar with the Rift Core 2.0 beta, if you enable it within sort of Oculus settings, you can sort of, there's an option to sort of enable it or disable it. And that basically gives you like the new dash features and new home features. So you can customize a little sort of virtual pad. You can customize that. And you've got the dash features as well, which is kind of like a Minority Report sort of dashboard.
Is that the same thing that is also like the Oculus sensors that you can now see what their field of view is for like setting them up?
Separate. Yeah, that app you're talking about is called Sensor Bounds, which is a separate application. Yeah, but yeah, this Rift Core 2.0 update is from Oculus directly, and they've enabled an update just this week where you can have screen panels added to your home environment now. So you can have like a mounted TV in the wall, or you can have a retro CRT monitor or an arcade cabinet in your virtual space. Can stream videos or play non-VR games in your own virtual environment now. So that's kind of cool. Because that's what we didn't have before. You had these homes that you can customize, but
very limited
TVs or anything content on. Yeah. Also, you still can't invite people over.
No, we want the multiplayer system. That's what we want.
It's weird. It's weird though. They have that in the Oculus Go. Why don't they have that in the?
I know. we can have the whole story again.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I love arcade cabinets and TVs and things like that, but please just give the online feature and then just add that other content, you know?
Yeah. Because you can visit each other's rooms, but only they won't be there. You will just be walking around their house.
That's sad.
But the other cool thing is you can now import custom 3D models into your Oculus home space.
Okay.
So I was kind of thinking, if you could import any 3D model into your home space, what would it be? Like, would you have like a Big Daddy or something, Nathie, like in your home space? I know you're a big Bioshock fan.
I wonder what Zim would put in there.
Yeah.
large 3D. Sorry, you're saying large 3D object map into my Oculus home space, right?
Yeah.
Large.
Well,
You're thinking about it a minute. I'll think about it.
Okay. Would you just like construct a prison cell or something like that, Rowdy, so you could just sit in there all day?
No, I would just get a mic pillow in there.
Oh, of course. Well, that needs to happen, of course. Limited edition.
I think Mike would make like a 3D wig for himself.
Oh.
All right, I've got it. I've got it.
Him.
So I would want myself emblazoned in a Han Solo style bed of kryptonite and mounted on my own
choice.
wall.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Dang, Zim.
Good choice. I was thinking like an Ed 209 like robot from RoboCop, like a bit like in H's basement, so it could like protect my room, like when I wasn't there, just kind of patrol the area. That would be really
Or
cool.
maybe a dinosaur.
Weirdo.
You can never have enough dinosaurs.
Never have
enough dinosaurs.
Yeah, true. Although, talking about the Dash and this new update, I don't know if you guys use it when you use your Rift, but I actually recently disabled it because it's a real sucker for like, you know, sucking up my performance and getting into the Rift.
Really?
It really sort of delays the, like getting everything up and running. I don't know why that is. I don't know if you guys experienced that as well.
I'll answer that for you, Mike. The thing has trashed me for a number of weeks before I disabled it. But I think, you know, it's in beta. So fair play to them. Like, it's going to take some time for them to iron those kinks out.
Even if you don't have anything loaded?
Yeah, like it takes a while to load up. Yeah, it's a real issue. And I only noticed it in the last maybe 2 to 3 weeks, and then I was just like, I'm bored with this now.
But it's also because, like, as content creators, we're also recording, and then that adds up to the, you know. So I get it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it will be nice. I will eventually flick it back on and check out the new features. But for now, like you say, until multiplayer Oculus Rooms comes, I'm not that interested.
Please.
Well, one thing Dash does really well, and it's a question I get quite often, because a lot of people say, "Hey, I want to get into streaming, you know, VR, a lot. How do you see chat in the headset?" And actually, the easiest way to do that is is Oculus Dash with a breakout. But the issue is you're trading about 20% CPU and memory headroom for that benefit. Yeah. So, you know, you have to decide what your balance is going to be, how complex your scenes are, you know, and do you have multiple PCs, one to stream one to be casting from? So.
Yeah, and that's
rare,
what I do.
Isn't it?
I know Rowdy does that, but you know, he is the prison boss after all, so you know. But yeah, that is the updates to the Rift Dash 2.0 beta. Next bit of news is Space Junkies is coming to open beta soon. So the open beta starts on the 28th of June and is running till the 2nd of July. So if you're interested in Space Junkies, you can go and check it out for free during the open beta period. You just need to register on the Ubisoft website. But if you kind of like fast-paced shooters, then you'll probably really enjoy this one. I kind of like akin it to Quake in space. It's very fast-paced, very visceral. The guns feel really satisfying and meaty, and it's just very quick. So once you die, you're sort of right back into the fight again very quickly, and you're kind of zooming around zero gravity, fighting each other. So it's a lot of fun.
So is this game going to, like, do you need to pay for this game later on? Is this going to be a free game? Like,
No. So you have to pay for it later on. This is just an open beta just to test the servers. So you can test it for free, but, you know, get a bit of a feel for it, see if you like it. And then if you're interested, buy the game later on.
I think honestly, I think it would have been a good one if they made it free and then went for some cosmetics and things like that. Because it's a multiplayer once again, because there is no single player content, right?
That is true, although you might be right. I don't actually know for 100% sure whether it's going to be a paid or a free game, but it is going to be available on Steam and Oculus Home. So, you know,
I hope it's going to be free, because we have seen that with the other Ubisoft title as well, the one with the birds. How was it called again? I would say Early Bird, but that's not it.
Well,
Yeah, no, like the Ubisoft game where you had to be an eagle flight.
Eagle Flight, right.
So there was like, they had a single player there, but they also had a multiplayer. But if you now want to play a multiplayer, you know, no one is playing it anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why I was wondering. I really hope it's going to be free.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see if it is. For some reason, I've got a feeling that it's not. I don't know why.
Same here. Same here.
I'm trying to find if there's a price, but I
got
can't
that vibe
see.
as well, but man,
It's
I
going
love
to be
that game.
$20.
Because I know it's
the game is so good though.
Yeah.
It is. I'm a Quake guy, Mike, and then you said Quake. I'd say I'd put it in the Unreal Tournament camp because of the complexity of their weapon system. Because everything's got a primary and a secondary function, and the kind of, you know, three-dimensional space levels feel a bit more Unreal Tournament. But aside to that, I'd say that, you know, does it tap the vein? It absolutely does. If you're the kind of, as you said, high intensity. I mean, this is really the point where, like, I call it a don't blink game, and that's really it. But it felt great playing it last year at OC4. Really, really good.
It is a closed beta though, huh? Right?
No, so the closed beta is actually starting now, and then the open beta is on the 28th. So I think it's like the closed beta is just for like you know, content creators, devs, community people.
So what platforms is it going to be on again?
So Oculus Rift and Steam VR. So if you've got a HTC Vive or a Windows mixed reality headset, you can pick it up there as well.
No PlayStation yet.
No PlayStation yet.
Because hopefully that will also happen to have more cross-platform. Like they can create a way to get more players on there to have a, like, let's say, a longer lifespan over the upcoming weeks, months.
It's interesting you mentioned about player base, because a bit like the game that me and you played, what was it, Hellfire, Archangel Hellfire?
Yes.
This is like 2v2 battles. So it's 2v2 or 1v1. So they're not... Yeah, so it makes it easier to find full matches, whereas, like, you know, it's rare nowadays that you'll get like a full multiplayer game where you get 8v8 or 6v6 because the community just isn't there to play these games. So it's smart that they've gone the 2v2 route.
I'm surprised Ubisoft didn't really use like one of their famous titles yet to bring to VR. Let's say Rainbow Six, maybe a Rayman game, or you know, I would love to see.
I love Rayman. I absolutely love Rayman. One thing I wanted to say about this one, Mike, was you know, in terms of the kind of format and formula of the game, I really think if they want to draw crowds, they should maybe dip back into the pool of some of the professional Quake players, or even Unreal Tournament side. Like there's one guy called John Wendell whose nickname was Fatality. Like some of these guys, you know, if you watch the videos from the 90s, you know, when they were playing Quake and stuff, it's just insane that a human can be driving that character around. You know, it's still true today, but, you know, it'd be great if they got someone like QuakeCon or one of the big heavy hitters in here to pick this up and help drive it, because I think if you could get someone like that to really push VR, again, you can net another, you know, subset of gamers who love this thing.
Or you just make Quake in VR.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it's going to be a bit of a shootout between these shooters, like, you know, Space Junkies and Echo Combat. You know, they're going to be out around the same sort of time. It's going to be very interesting indeed to see which one the sort of community aligns with, or maybe both. I don't know.
I think it's not going to be a surprise that Echo Combat is going to steal the show, because it's made by Oculus. It's on their platform. They can promote it as much as they want. Well, Ubisoft needs to just wait and then hope for the best.
And the thing is, you know, Echo Combat is going to be free, likely. You know, it's not going to, you know, Echo Arena was.
That's exactly it. That's why it should be free. Like, if you make a multiplayer right now, please make it free and find something else to earn money with, because otherwise your game is not going to make it, I think.
I'm with Nathie with that. They've even done with a lot of the FPSs, the latest you know, Quake games, a lot of them have been free. Quake Champions wasn't, then went freemium. You know, those models do actually work. And actually, just to remind people here, back who weren't involved in the DK1, what was the first thing that really hit the web? It was when John Carmack got Doom running, right, on it off Palmer's headset, and that's when it started to flare up on the internet. Now, he's the guy, right, he was big part of id Software. They're behind Quake. And Nathan, you just said Quake in VR, and now I'm salivating.
Yes. Well, hopefully he's watching.
And also, like you said about freemium titles, like we know, like the biggest behemoth of gaming right now is a free game, isn't it? You know, Fortnite is free. So
I actually read, you know how much they make a month?
Oh God, I would love to know.
That's insane. I'll look up the number again, but it's I think it's around the 20 million mark.
Wow, a month. Yeah. And what is it? Half of that's going to Ninja. for streaming on Twitch.
Oh wait, no, I'm severely under it. Like Fortnite made nearly $300 million in the month of April.
No way.
Wow, that is
300
incredible.
million.
That's incredible. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
$300 million.
Obviously, VR doesn't have the player base of that, but like you say, Nathie, it's an interesting model to take, and it'll be interesting to see if they go down that route or not.
Yeah.
So keep your eyes peeled for that one coming soon to the Oculus Rift and Steam VR. So next up, some other quick news, some interesting news as well that just sort of came out of nowhere this week. And that was news from a developer, one of the developers from Climby, a guy named Brian Lindenhoff. He was talking in a sort of Twitter thread about controllers, and someone was saying how, they prefer the Rift controllers over the Vive ones. And he was saying, well, calm your jets a little bit, because the Valve Knuckles are going to be sort of coming in and showing their sort of presence in the VR space. And he let it slip that the Valve Knuckles, the second iteration of them, will actually have a thumbstick. So they may be ditching the touchpad altogether on the Knuckles.
God.
And it may actually have a thumbstick moving forward. So I was kind of intrigued by this one, because I've always had a thumbstick. I've never had a Vive, so I've obviously played with one. But how do you guys find the touchpad compared to like a thumbstick? Or would you be excited about the Valve Knuckles having a thumbstick in future? If the Knuckles ditched the touchpad completely and just had a thumbstick,
as I said before, I would love to see a combination of two, where you have a thumbstick and a touchpad. Like touchpad wise, it can be very nice to go through a menu, for example. Yeah. But with the thumbstick, you can walk around in such a more accurate way. So there are so many reasons why you want to have both. But it's good to see that Valve is now trying out like new Valve like knuckle controllers and see what devs do with like a thumbstick, because they are still prototypes. This is nothing official. It's not going to be it's not going to be the end product. This is just something. Well, not random they made, but it's just out there to try, It's
of course. Yeah.
I know a lot of people swear by thumbsticks. I got the Steam controller as well, which has a combination of both. They have the touchpad on the right, and they have the thumbstick on the left, and also another thumbstick on the bottom. And I really love that. I can actually play first-person shooters on. Like, I wouldn't say I'm as good as with a mouse, for example, but I can play it against people who are playing with a mouse who are just not that great. I can easily play with my Steam controller with the touchpad and the gyroscope of the controller, and I'm way better than other people that are playing with a mouse, which is pretty awesome to do that.
Yeah. So you're describing your perfect controller, Nathie, as like the Windows mixed reality controller.
Maybe a little more solid in a way. Yes, it's like maybe in the left hand a thumbstick, in the right hand a touchpad. Right. Like the best way, what Valve could do is they make a controller where you can just click a thumbstick in or a touchpad and just change that.
A bit like a bit like the Xbox Elite controller. You can change it up a little bit. That would be very
not too much modifying, but at least where you can just say like, okay, I click that in, I click that out.
Like that one, didn't there was a guy who like was 3D printing these kind of things you could like clip over. I know Survivor made a video on that one. He said it was pretty cool.
Yes. So you can add a thumbstick to the touchpad. Yeah, you're right. That you can get these 3D printed little swirly
swiping in certain games and doing menu stuff. I love that. Like swiping through things is super satisfying. But again, as I said before, I prefer to walk with a thumbstick. But I just feel like from Oculus, their side, they haven't done that much with the thumbstick, and from like the Steam side, like the touchpad hasn't been used like at its full potential. Like the thumbstick, for example, when you click the thumbstick, it's usually the reset button, right? There's so much more you can do with this thumbstick, and that's what we have seen, for example, with Red Matter. They really knew how to use the touch controllers in a way that we have never seen before. So even that we see like new prototypes coming out, there's still so much to learn with the controllers we have at this moment. But it's nice to see Valve like changing it up, and it's just funny that this is all so public. Well, when Oculus sends out, let's say, a Santa Cruz controller, no one knows, and with Valve it's like, okay, people can apparently talk about it. It's not as secret as you think. But I don't know, let's see what developers think about it, right?
He said that he's going to be tweeting out a picture of it when it arrives, so stay tuned for that one.
Where do you stand on this, Mike? I'm curious because I'm definitely in the camp of getting rid of the touchpad is what the Vive controller needs to do. That's where I stand.
So I'm more exposed to the touchpad, obviously, on the Oculus Go. But like, you know, even swiping through menus, I don't particularly like it. I'm old school, so I prefer a thumbstick all day long, basically. You know, if I could have a thumbstick on the go, then I would, you know.
The thing is, because I learned to work with a touchpad using the Steam controller, and if you have a good touchpad, it's so much easier to navigate through screens, through any kind of. Because what they did really smart with the Steam controller is they have some with the Steam controller is they have a certain type of vibration that gives like a roll to it. So when you swipe up, like you swipe, you can feel it like rolling up. It's like it feels like a roll that you're basically doing like a trackball, like something like that, like rolling it up, and you stop it at the point that you want it to be, and then you can swipe so far. It's basically like what you have on your mouse, like this thing, like
the fine motor controls. I know what you're talking about.
That one. That is really what makes that thing really, really nice. So if they do a touchpad, it needs to be a very good touchpad that allows you to like use these kind of motor actions to make it even better.
More flexible, because now it's kind of static, you know, it's just pressing, it feels very arcadey, but if it's more...
And it breaks really quickly.
Well, there's one major point here we got to bring back from the historic back catalog. So degradation in the touchpads on the Vive controllers has been my biggest problem with them. But I agree with what you're saying there, Rowdy, in terms of the benefit. If we also fling it to the other side, if you talk about analog sticks, anyone who owned an old school N64 knows the crunchy analog stick that, you know, has been around for years and was passed down by their cousin or whatever. I mean, that was a horrible experience. And so far, thankfully, I've not had that so far on Oculus Go, on Oculus Rift touch controllers. So
no.
I don't know if it will happen in another year. You know, are those things going to degrade?
I don't know. I mean, in the end, it's like we want to get rid of a touchpad and a thumbstick. There needs to be something else out there. But hey, welcome to the future, right? Yeah.
Just gloves. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So moving on from our sort of quick news this week onto our main topics, and get ready, guys, because the hype is real. A new movie is coming to One Touch VR. What is One Touch VR, do you say?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, because you probably don't even know. That's the problem. So One Touch VR is a production and distribution studio for VR movies, and they've recently launched their third VR movie. So this is number 3. Their previous VR movies are 360 movies. The first one includes the Recall VR Abduction, which featured Wesley Snipes. I don't know if you guys have seen that one or heard of it. No?
I heard of it. I didn't watch it.
So I think you might have heard of the second one, Zim. It's the Humanity Bureau with Nicolas Cage.
Oh, my God. No. Worst VR experience I've ever had.
Did everyone try that, by the way?
Yeah.
Oh,
So I tried the trailer. That was bad enough.
Oh, my days.
But their new movie, their new one is called Distorted Reality, and it features John Cusack and Christina Ricci. So what did you think of the Humanity Bureau then, Zim? Because I know you some spicy thoughts on that one.
Mike, I'm fashioning myself a noose right now just because you mentioned it again. I can't live in this world, this bittersweet world with that fucking thing. It is literally the most inexplicably poor quality 360 I've ever experienced. If you haven't seen it, I would actually implore you,
don't do it.
First, salt your eyeballs, then go watch it.
Salt your eyeballs.
You need to be crying as you watch it. It will somehow improve the experience. It is just so much
The tears will distort the image so that it actually becomes clearer, you know?
Yeah.
Wait, so I have a deja vu right now because I did try this for maybe 5 minutes and then I backed out. But wasn't it like, there was like a movie experience with like a 360 lobby where you could select like a trailer you wanted to watch, and then you saw Nicolas Cage standing in like a 3D house, but he was like 2D. He was an actual like cardboard version.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
There's so many layers of bad in that. I mean, there's even a scene where there's like this awkward interaction between a dude and like a young like 12-year-old boy in a bathroom that you're like looking at this going, I just don't want to be watching this. And then it's like the lo-fi quality in certain scenes, and you can tell that the acting is, I wouldn't even say B grade. We're talking C or D grade acting.
I remember watching this live. I remember watching this live, Zim. It was one of your best streams so far, I have to say. I really enjoyed that one. And then the stream was making you buy the extra experience. You could unlock like more. Oh, no. So Zim was buying more.
Yeah.
You can't even buy the film. You can't even. They're advertising this thing that you can't. Like, what is the point? What is the point of this VR?
So how is this premium add-on compared to like the free content?
Okay, so the app is free. So the app is called One Touch VR, and that's basically your portal to these 3 movies. You know, all 3 are available on there, and then the movies you can buy them in-app purchases, basically. So you know, the first one, which was the Recall VR Abduction, which features Wesley Snipes, it's like 13 minutes long, the movie. It's like £2 in British pounds, and it's about $3. The Humanity Bureau is like episodic, so it's like 7 episodes of 15 minutes each. That's like
it sounds so deliciously horrible.
It's like £3.76 for the whole series, and about $5. And then the final one, which is the latest one, John Cusack and Christina Ricci, Distorted Reality. It's 10 minutes long, and it's £2.76 or $3.99 in US dollars. But this is the thing, like, these aren't the only people that are making these kind of movies. There is another studio out there called Top Dog VR, and they made a 360 movie featuring John Travolta. I don't know if you've seen this one.
Yeah, with the boats.
Oh, you know it. You've seen it. You've seen it, Nathie.
I've seen some stuff, guys. Like
you've seen some stuff. Yeah, stuff that we'd like.
But
to
these
forget.
are big actors. Like, how did they get these people? Where's the budget coming from to make some things?
Angel investors, they take 10% of the cash, they chuck it at a big name, and they think they're going to succeed. If you produce shite and you shovel it out there with a good name on it, it doesn't make it better, lads. Just stop producing this stuff.
It's like you're actually destroying a little bit of VR there instead of making it better. You know, it's a shame.
But
makes great content for me.
That's true.
These are the first movies of their kind, though, right? I think it's kind of start of something that's going to probably take off more in the future.
Of its first kind, there are examples that are so much better. So
of course. But go on.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I remember, like, in the stream with Zim as well, like, there was this interview with Nicolas Cage himself where he was talking about, you know, virtual reality, and it was clear that he had like no idea what it was about. No.
What is VR? I don't even know.
Oh, the most punishing thing though was the actual director, who like clearly thought he was the bee's knees, and he was like, "We've got the state of the art equipment," and he kept going on about it, and you're like, dude, I just watched it. It's awful. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, oh no.
From the equipment that I've seen that they've used, it's just GoPros in a 360 rig. That's all it is.
Maybe
leading edge.
Maybe Mr. Cage did try it, but when they interviewed him, it was so bad that he had to deny it.
Yeah.
But what I do not understand about a lot of movie-based apps and experiences, make it free because you want to promote the movie. Okay, this one is bad maybe, but again, like if you want to promote a movie and you want people to go there, then at least give them that for free and then let them buy like a ticket for the movie, you know?
This is the funny thing, right? Because like out of these movies, only one is solely VR, and that's the Recall VR Abduction with Wesley Snipes. The other 3 movies, they're actually made into traditional pancake movies, and that's the thing. Like these VR experiences, you still have to pay for them, and some of them are only like 10 to 13 minutes long. So they're not even there to hype a movie up that is a pancake movie. They're just VR movies.
And one more puzzling thing about the oh my god, the lovely Nicolas Cage one was there's one part where, right, we've all seen it, right? If you're on the edge of gaming, like let's say racing, for instance, you have a 3-monitor setup, right? This trailer, in one stage, it does a trailer across 3 monitors, except some parts, it just shows on one of the 3 monitors. It like blanks out 2 and then shows it on 1. And then it flips back and forth and cuts them in certain ways. It's the weirdest thing. Like, why would you don a VR headset to then watch 3 monitors that then get blacked out? Like, who thought up that? And then the financial model of splitting them across 15 episodes. Like, shoot these people, please.
And the problem is you can't even stream it. where you have to do the in-app purchase, wait for these episodes to download because they need to be in high quality, and then once they've downloaded, then you can sort of play them. But you're going to be waiting like an hour and a half. You can't even watch it with your girlfriend or your wife. It's very sad. You can't.
You know, I just looked up the Humanity Bureau on Rotten Tomatoes, and they have an average rating of 2.5 out of 10 and a tomato score of 33% Rotten Tomatoes.
But you know, again, like I think like this development studio who made it, like they just get a certain budget to make it. They could have made something much more awesome maybe, and they just don't get enough, and then you get this kind of stuff. So I don't think we can blame the VR studio for this. But mainly, like maybe the ones that produced the movie and decided to go for something outside of their movie.
It seems from the trailers that I watched, because I haven't checked out the full movie, so I don't know. Like they could be better. I really don't know. But from the reviews on the Oculus App Store, like it's pretty bad. Like everyone's saying it's pretty bad. They've actually paid for it. But in the trailers, it just felt like you were really disconnected from like the actual action. And what I just saw recently is, I don't know if you guys checked out the Campfire Creepers little short stories on Oculus. So basically they're little like horror movies, some of which are free, some of which are paid. But when I tried one of those out, there was a really good one. It was like a British one where it had these like sort of gangsters around a table, and they were sort of like trying to organize a heist. And you were kind of like this, you know, you weren't a part of it, but you were just observing it, but you were really like close up into the action. And it felt like you were part of it. It was really cool. But this kind of feels like it was just a camera that was part of a set that was far removed from the action. So you're literally just watching like, oh, there's John Travolta sitting way over there on a stool having conversation with someone at a bar. You don't feel like you're there. Do you know what I mean? And that's weird.
Mike, you know the industry who understands this, right? Need for presence in that kind of a movie scene, whether it's 180 or 360.
I have no idea, Zim. What kind of industry would that be?
That would be the adult film industry, Mike.
Oh, right.
The adult film industry.
Right? Like, I don't often complain in the VR sphere of resolution, because we already hear it. Like if someone opts into a headset, you know, these days I'd say you hear that less and less and less. But with this thing, I have never seen such a blurry mess, such a low resolution, lo-fi capture. It is absolutely punishing. You cannot enjoy watching these actors when you're really, it's like you're sitting on the back end of a bad Skype call. Like,
yeah, it is, and that's the thing. Like with this week actually, and we mentioned it last week that, you know, Henry is now being re-released on Oculus Go in 5K at 60 frames per second. You just think, well, now that Carmack, he released this week all the details about how he actually achieved that, maybe that now is the time that these people can start looking at what can be achieved in VR.
Mike, stop! Don't give them any IDs. Like, you know, you want to watch this kind of Nicolas Cage stuff in 5K? Heck, it's not going to be better. You're still going to have a camera that is attached to the back of a car, driving over a bumpy road, getting this shaky little screen.
Uninspired and bad filmmaking. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you want to see some good 360, you know, I've said this many times before. I keep repeating myself. Felix and Paul, go watch some stuff there.
Yeah.
You know, look it up on Oculus Home. You will not be disappointed.
Yeah, they seem to be setting the bar in terms of quality.
They do. So
no to the Humanity Bureau. Do not develop 5K content in collaboration with.
But I still like Nicolas Cage.
Don't do it.
I love Nicolas Cage. Like Face Off,
and also John Travolta. You can't hate on this guy. I mean, he's from Greece.
And Wesley Snipes, Demolition Man. Amazing.
What happened to Snipes, actually? I've not seen him in anything for eons.
Well, go and watch him in VR.
I like a special show just for these two, I promise. Is this out now, by the way? Or
it is.
Coming out in the future?
No, it's out. All of them are out right now. Spend all your money on them in-app purchases.
It's so going to be worth it. Cool.
So just one more thing before I wrap up about these VR movies. Like, there is actually another one coming soon that does actually sound kind of interesting. And bear with me. Bear with me. Calm yourself, Rowdy. Right. So this was filmed in real time in 360 video, but also at the same time they captured volumetric footage, and also at the same time they're going to be integrating Unity tools as well. So it's kind of going to be like half movie, half Unity, like developed in VR with kind of doing things that you can't actually do in a real movie.
That sounds more interesting.
Yeah, it's actually made by, I can't actually remember the name of the company that developed it, but they're calling it Trinity. It's basically an interactive science fiction VR movie that puts the user in a world of robots and AI where humanity has long since vanished. So yeah, like I said, they're sort of developing it in partnership with Unity themselves to make this kind of interactive movie mashup experience with Unity as well. So it sounds kind of interesting, and that'll be coming soon.
And it's
but there's not much.
Free, or
we don't know that yet. We don't know that yet.
Sounds very mysterious. I want to hear more about that.
Yeah.
Very mysterious indeed. So moving on from movies to another way you could just whittle your life away and watch in VR, and that is watching the World Cup. Because I don't know if you guys are football fans or not.
Well, sometimes, you know,
Well,
when
if
Belgium
Belgium
plays.
Yeah.
That's
What's
it.
a football, Mike? What's a
What's a foosball? I have no idea.
What's this football?
What about you, Nathie? You a football fan?
Well, I usually I like to watch it. I'm not a big fan, but since this year we're not even in this whole like World Cup thing, I can't even care. Like they didn't even tell me that the World Cup started. I came back from E3 and I was like, oh, there's a World Cup. Oh,
You don't have a national team in the World Cup?
Well, this time no, and it's very embarrassing to say
Very
that.
small, very small country. Very small
I didn't actually know that.
No, not very small country. Like we're very good. Like the Dutch team, like they killed it many times before. Beware Zim.
Before, yeah.
Like
Wow.
no talent, no talent compared to the Irish. The Irish are going to take it, Mike. The Irish.
Irish.
I was just going to ask, like, who are you backing? Are you backing like England? And of course, no, you're backing Ireland. Of course, right. So yeah, we digress. The World Cup kicked off in Russia last week, and if you're a VR fan and a football fan, then now you can experience them both mashed together for your beautiful eyeballs. And if you want to watch these games in virtual reality, well, you can. The next game after this episode actually goes live on the 24th of June, and it is England versus Panama. You can check it out at 5 a.m. Pacific time. I'm not quite sure what time it is UK time, actually. I should have noted that down, but apologies for that. You'll know if you're in the UK anyway, because it's England, for God's sake. The whole country will just close down. But there's a few ways that you can watch the games, and that is one is through Oculus venues. So they've got all the events listed in Oculus venues. And the cool thing about the Oculus venues way of watching the World Cup is that you can actually sit as if you're actually part of a crowd and have all these avatars around you, like you're actually on a stadium sort of bench together with all these people. It looks incredible, and it's free. However, big caveat.
Here it comes.
It's hosted by Fox Sports, so it's only available in the US. Why? Why you do this? Why you do this? Oculus?
Money.
So
I thought you were going to say it was a paid experience. So is this a free experience, Mike?
Free experience if you live in the US.
If you have Fox.
So yeah, and that's the thing. And you need a cable subscription as well, and they need to validate that through your
what the
login.
Fox? What the Fox?
Yeah,
what the Fox?
Why, you know?
Yeah, why you do this?
Why you do this?
I'm glad
yeah,
it's coming though. That's
yeah.
a good thing. And also the one thing I would say, I always hesitate, and like we've seen other podcasts do that thing virtually. Like for me, I want to stare at human faces. I mean, look at these three gentlemen. Look at how good they look.
Yeah.
It's like I find it really weird, and I would find it as a fan. There are some sports I do like. I don't really follow football that much. But to be sitting in a stadium and looking at avatars, I probably would find that distracting and breaking the immersion a little bit. I would rather just, even if it was a wrapper of like a 360 video, even if it was a pre-recorded thing, and then you saw the actual pitch itself with the players, that would probably entice me.
But Zim, seriously, if you could use inflatables, that would make a difference, right? and fireworks and things like that.
Okay.
Inflatables.
So like there is another way you can do this, just so you're aware. So there is other methods. So if you
live in
live
England,
in the US, then you're not left out completely. So if you live in the UK, you can download the BBC Sports app on your Oculus Go or Gear VR. Just bear in mind as well, this is a good point, that none of these experiences are available on Vive, Rift, or Windows Mixed Reality. So only available on mobile VR headsets, which is kind of weird. So if you're a Rift or a Vive or a Windows MR owner, the only way you're going to be able to watch the World Cup in VR is probably if you go into big screen and someone's hosting a room streaming it.
Oculus venues today is only available in the Go.
Or Gear VR, yeah.
Gear VR,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
the thing is, if you want to watch a match on PC, you just go to your local TV like station thing, and maybe you can log in there and watch a stream. Like for us, it's like free. You can watch the matches on like a website, so you can do that. But you're right; it's kind of strange they went for mobile only. But I think they think that that's like the biggest market right now for sports, and I think they are right in a way, but.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So yeah, the BBC Sports app, you can get that on the go or the Gear. And I tried it out just before the show for science. And it kind of looks actually quite cool. You can watch the matches live and they have a schedule, which can give you a notification on your phone when the match is going to start. Or you can rewatch some old matches. So I actually just watched an old game. I think it was an England match. Don't know who they're playing. I'm not a massive football fan, so sorry.
Tunisia.
I was just doing it. Maybe. I was just doing it for science. And the cool thing about it, though, is you actually feel like you're sitting in a VIP box, like overlooking the pitch. And the quality of the video stream was actually pretty good, bearing in mind it was being streamed and I didn't have to download it like these other movies we just discussed. And the other cool thing is that during the actual game, if you want to, you can jump straight to the goals, the goal cameras, either goal. So that's kind of cool as well. So it's got some interactivity. The only downside with this app over the Venues app is that you're on your own. You can't actually watch this with friends.
No.
So unfortunately, you're a solo experience, and that's the kind of sad thing about it. Because I think the World Cup is really best enjoyed with other people, right?
I agree.
Depends if you're winning.
Well, yeah, you know.
I want to see a field full of people standing, like, you know, those soundless concerts or whatever. They all wear headsets.
Yeah.
You know, like that with Goes, and just watching the World Cup and them all get lit up excited, you know, at a big part of the match. That'd be awesome.
You all of a sudden see like controllers flinging at the screen, like, you know, God damn it.
Someone is getting hit with an Oculus like touch controller live on the camera.
But it's really important, right? Like, I mean, I think sports, like we talked about a few different industries that drive sales, right? Who like buys big screen TVs? Sports people. Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. That drove it like crazy. It wasn't people who were looking for, you know, Star Wars in 3D, you know, on the latest television set. It was people driving sports. And I think that it, you know, VR really does offer a huge opportunity here. And also, like what you said, Mike, once they turned it social, the floodgates.
Yeah, and I think that's the shame about it, because I would have jumped into Venues to watch a game with the social interaction going on around me, because the buzz of it would have got me hyped, and, you know, I would have enjoyed it probably way more. You know, watching a game on my own doesn't really sound that appealing, to be honest. If you're in other parts of the world, by the way, there are other apps you can download. I'll just quickly list them off. Like if you're in Australia, you can download the Optus FIFA World Cup VR app, Gear VR, Oculus Go. If you're in Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Uruguay, or Venezuela, you can download the DirecTV Sports app. In France, it's the MyTF1. In Greece, it's the ERTVR, and obviously in the US, it's Sports.
Anything in Belgium? Anything?
No, they're irrelevant.
So this BBC one is UK only.
I think it's UK only. Yeah.
So there's nothing for us to play, basically.
Sorry.
Nope.
So I need to go to your place to download my BBC app, and if I then go back to my own country, I can use it?
Won't work.
And what if I'm like somewhere in the middle between like the Netherlands and like England?
Won't work.
So I can put your little sleeping bag down here.
Yeah,
you can just
go for it. I'm just leaving in a few minutes.
Yeah, it is very warm in here, by the way, so you might need to bring another fan, because you might get a bit hot.
There are always ways of solving this.
Yeah, so you could use like a proxy server or something like that. But, you know, really, I think because a lot of these applications, they want validation from your network provider that you
BBC doesn't.
have like a TV license. BBC doesn't actually, you're right. So yeah, you could do it through the BBC, but like I say, it's a single player experience. Like, why would you want to do that? So it's a bit of a shame, but it's interesting the way things are going anyway. We had the same deal with the Olympics as well. Like when the Olympics was on, same deal, same problem as well. So hopefully Oculus will eventually solve this problem. And I know it's a problem in VR, streaming media content in general, because I know the big screen has like big issues with sort of regions and playing movies. And when they play Top Gun in 3D, they couldn't play it in certain parts of the world, and it's just a big problem.
And
so.
sure that if they have more users, Facebook is gonna buy like a license. I mean, is that really a problem for them? I don't think so. If it makes sense to do it now, I don't think so.
Because Facebook is also, I don't know if you guys already noticed, but they're doing a lot of like sports streaming. They're buying up a lot of licenses to like be live streaming on these kind of events. I think eventually they plan to take on these kind of things as well for like sports. They do it already with the gaming conventions as well, like ESL and all of those. So I think Facebook is going to become a big player in that as well.
Yeah. So see you in 4 years.
Just one other thing on this is something we've been asking for, is essentially asynchronous sharing. So what I mean by that is, we each have audiences, and if we can't, share with another person and experience it firsthand live, not being able to actually experience it, but share that experience. Like Mike, watching you enjoy, a football match, right? Where, you make a video about it or something is also kind of interesting, but again, when you get into those murky waters of licensing around, sports content and
distributing. It's a real issue. It's a real issue.
It's just a shame. Like, it's going to take 4 years again before there's another World Cup, right? I mean,
yeah. Well,
it'll be interesting to see how it will change.
Yeah. Do you have any predictions how we are going to watch it in 4 years, Mike?
Well, we'll feel like we're actually like part of the audience, like the way we do now, like the way in Oculus rooms we feel like we're together in the same physical space. That works so well. So if you just replicate that in VR where we can watch something in a crowd, I just basically want venues to be like multi-region so we can all experience it. I think that will work as I want it to.
So in 4 years, I will be able to feel Rowdy's inflatable.
Well,
my inflatable.
Well, you never know. We might meet up before then, but So right, let's go on and finally let's sort of round this week's show up with some E3 games. So I don't know which ones of these titles you actually played, Nathie. So did you play Ghost Giant? No, I think you only played Arcas Path out of these games. Did you play Creed?
I did see them.
I've played Creed.
Oh, you played Creed? Okay. Very interesting. So let's talk about Creed and Arcas Path then, because then you can sort of give us a bit of an input from the two of you as to what your thoughts of the games were. So the first one obviously is Creed, which is a Servios title. They obviously brought you Sprint Vector and raw data as well, and Electronauts, which is another game that is very interesting indeed. But Creed Rise to Glory is going to be available on PC VR and PSVR. And it's a boxing game. Very sort of follows the movie of the same name. I don't know if you checked out the Creed movie, but it's a very cool movie indeed. Michael Jordan Jr., I believe, plays Adonis Creed. Son, and it's a really cool movie, and obviously features the iconic Rocky Balboa, played by Sylvester Stallone, and you get to sort of interact with Rocky Balboa in this game. So you get to sort of train with him, and he becomes your little coach, and then you can sort of fight. And on the PSVR version, you can actually be him as well as an exclusive character for the PSVR version. But yeah, so you sort of play this amateur boxer on his rise to glory through the role of Adonis Creed, who is the fighter that that was in the original Rocky movies, and you have to sort of duck, dive, and stay on your toes and throw punches carefully to sort of really sort of get a feel for actually being in a boxing match. So it kind of
there's an actual storyline to it.
There's a very basic storyline which kind of goes in line with the movies. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So it's kind of cool, and Rocky's actually in it, which is cool as well. I don't know if he did the voicing, but he's in the game.
Adrian!
But unlike Knockout League, so I don't know if you guys played Knockout League, it was a bit like Punch Out, but in VR, so you could learn the sort of patterns of the fighters.
And then you could just boxing game, right?
Yeah. This isn't actually like that. This is very different. It's sort of, it just basically works on the fighter's style. So you basically just have to kind of work with ducking, diving, throwing your own punches, and there isn't a pattern to it. So you just kind of have to fight like you were actually in the ring with this fighter, which is really cool, I think. I think I prefer that way, a bit more realistic. And it's got a kind of cool mechanic, whereas if you get knocked out, you kind of get this kind of camera zoom out where you're sort of then looking at the ring from a distance, and then you have to run back to the ring. So that if you're running back into the light, and then you're back into the body again, and then you're back fighting again. So it's kind of got this cool like knockout mechanic. But I'd be intrigued to hear what you think, Zim, having sort of had some hands-on time with it, what you think of it, if it's got some potential or not, or you think it's not that great. I'd love to know.
So I played this at VRLA a couple of months ago, and I like looking at it. It definitely looks the part. It kind of stands up to Survios's other visuals. I do think that they did that well. I found that the Rocky piece was awkward, I'd say, in the parts where he's kind of coaching you. And I've played a number of other boxing titles, on Rift and Vive. And I would say that, if I was to sit it in the kind of the pecking order, it's probably landing about third in that set. So I wasn't overly impressed. It gets a little bit hung up in itself in terms of some of the game mechanics. And it's a lot less of a boxing sim than some of the other games that I've played. I'm hunting my brain for the name of the one I've played before, where you're holding the controllers to the side and grueling feat. But what things I did like about it, that sprinting back, to kind of wake your character back up again is really fun. Yeah. And I did find that the boxes were quite good. But when I meant that it gets hung up in the kind of configuration of the game design, there's pieces where like if you're punching, it doesn't allow you to, because like let's say you're out of stamina or whatever, so you're reaching or you're trying to make moves that aren't represented in your character, and straight away you're breaking immersion, and it feels out of body like from that moment.
So you have a stamina meter, and you can only throw full punches when that stamina meter has actually got stamina in it.
Yeah, it's too gamey. I prefer a game which allows you, somewhat similar to the Legolas problem we have in Skyrim, where you can fire arrows like crazy if you can draw your arms back and forth fast enough. It's the exact same thing here, where the gamification layer over it blocks you from the immersion.
But that's what I didn't like. This is the thing. Like these games, this is why they work so well in VR, because it's based on your own stamina, not a stamina meter.
Exactly.
Like Sprint Vector, you were good at the game because you were
or not good at the game.
So it's not really a simulator in the end. It's more like also an arcadey kind of.
Yeah. That sounds really disappointing.
It's more Knockout League-esque than, and I wish I could remember the name of this other game, because there is a wonderful boxing game which is really in your face, and I have, had several sweat rags over. I will try to comment it when the video gets posted, Mike.
Yeah, is there actually multiplayer in this?
I don't know that for sure. I don't think so. They haven't mentioned anything, and I haven't seen anything in the demos either of two people fighting each other. But it's a shame that you said it's more arcadey than, because when I read it, I thought, it sounds like more of a serious kind of boxing game. But when you mentioned the stamina meter, I was like, oh, what? Like that doesn't sound very cool at all.
I wonder, did they make this game for the movie, or because then they might have had some restrictions from someone up there saying like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to make it. I wonder.
Well, that's the thing, because there is a Creed 2 coming out relatively soon. So it could have been made in conjunction with the movie studio to promote it. So it's kind of like bridging the gap between the two movies, maybe in terms of storyline.
I do have here's like Rocky. I don't know if you can. He's kind of pixelated.
Adrian.
He kind of like I saw people playing it at E3, and he looked like Rocky, so that's a good sign.
Yeah,
I'll see if I can find it. I'll put it up.
He looks awkward. They kind of syncing with his voice, and that it's not terrible. It's just it does come across awkward. I did find, and I suppose the only thing that I would say about the game was, just a shout out to Survios. They're a really friendly bunch. And in particular, Rico, who is built like a boxer, was the guy who showed me from their team. They're lovely. Like I really like Survios, and I think they do have the talent. And on this one, I suspect that they were just trying to avoid what I would call the Wii controller spam win, which you can do with touch control.
Yeah. It's a shame though, because you couldn't do that in Knockout League either. You couldn't just go crazy because you had to learn the pattern. But I was kind of hoping that this would be a bit different. But hopefully, the game is still in development, so maybe these things can change. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in its development process.
What does it? On what platforms does it come out actually?
So it's going to be available on PC VR and PSVR.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
VR, so Steam and Home.
Yes, Steam, Oculus Home. So both. You'll be able to play it on Windows Mixed Reality as well.
Does anyone else feel the seething rage of those mixed reality, the poor mixed reality headset people who are getting dejected from another title?
They don't have to complain that much because usually they add it later on, or it just works by itself already. So I don't think it's that bad. Like there is a lot, like nowadays I see so many experiences that have a Windows mixed reality support.
If it's on Steam, then generally it has it. And the thing is as well, like I get comments almost daily on some of my videos about people using Windows mixed reality and sort of give me a hard time because I give it a hard time. And I still don't think it's like a great platform, but you know, everyone sort of, it's very cheap. And I think that's the thing about it. Like a lot of people bought it because it's very, very cheap platform, you know, $200 for a headset. Well, you can't really argue with that too much.
Yeah, but it has a community that you have to take serious now because there is like an actual like pretty big group who owns one and wants to try everything with it.
And I'll just for the chat, you know, I know we're doing this pre-recorded, but just for those in chat right now, because some of us will be watching, if you would just answer this question, if you are a Windows mixed reality user, what works really well with it right now? And what does not work very well? We'd love to hear your comments.
One thing, just to throw my 2 pence in there, is that a lot of people that use the Windows mixed reality platform, particularly with like the Odyssey, they use them for sim games, and I think that's kind of where it has its best place because the controllers are the weakest part of that system, I think. So if you're into sims, you know, like space sims, racing sims. Then, you know, maybe it is a great headset to go for.
I don't know. I still have seen so many people being so creative with these headsets and with the controllers too. So I think the people who use them don't seem to have the same experience as you. But I get it. But I think like for how cheap this has been made, it still works pretty well, and people seem to like they made something out of it themselves, right?
Yeah, and that's my point. The thing is, like, it is cheap, and I get it. It's an affordable barrier to entry. But let's be clear about it. Like, you're not using one. You're using a Vive and a Rift, and none of us are using one.
I mean, I like for me, it would be a downgrade. I agree, but it's still from the people I have seen using them, it's still like impressive how they pull it off to use them. Yeah. And if they can be in VR, then it's not a bad thing. Like we first thought that mixed reality was going to be a very it's just a name. Like the name needs to change, but the headset itself, I think it maybe it wasn't welcome at the start, but now I think it has been accepted by many people.
Put it this way: if I had the choice of not ever playing VR and having a Windows mixed reality headset, then of course I'm going to have a Windows mixed reality headset.
Okay.
Right. So let's final bit of topic this week is Arcas Path. So this is an interesting title because it's cross many platforms. It's PSVR, Rift, Vive, Windows mixed reality, Go, and Gear VR. So pretty much all the mainstream headsets that are available right now, even mobile headsets as well. So Arcas Path is actually made by Rebellion. They're a UK-based sort of development studio. And this is their first sort of foray into to VR. This is going to be like a physics-based platforming game. So you control this like little sphere, like a marble, through a series of maze-like levels. And basically the overarching story of the whole thing is that it sort of follows a young girl who sort of lives on a scrap heap. She's sort of like a down and out, and she is sort of scavenging for parts to sort of feed her family and to survive. And then she finds this mysterious mask, which then sort of teleports her to this sort of magical world. And she sort of takes the form of this sort of ball, this sort of sphere that you control. So you actually control the ball with your head. There's no controller required, and that's kind of the interesting thing about this game. It's very sort of colorful and looks very sort of relaxing to play. It's kind of one of those real chill ones. You just kind of sit there, control the ball with your head. So it looks kind of an interesting title, and you got to check this one out at E3 yourself, right, Nathie?
Yes, so it wasn't a public demo, it was still behind closed doors. I also need to correct you on the fact that like Rebellion didn't make it, they are the publisher, and the developers are called Dream Reality Interactive. And so I spoke to the developers before trying it, and they said they were very happy that Rebellion wanted to publish their game, because they said like the idea they had for this game is something they couldn't really find like funds for, so they could just do their own thing. They had no restrictions, and I'm very happy Rebellion opened up for that, because I think we need that. You know, we need creative stuff with too many restrictions. Of course, you need to still follow a certain path, but Arcas Path. Anyways, I tried it, and to be honest with you, we have seen some marble games, right, where you had to maybe use your head. Like, we have seen ones before. It's not something new, and we have also seen marble games where you had to use the controllers. I think there was one called Marble Maze Runner, whatever. I don't really know what the name was, but anyways, there are a few. And this one was really, really cool. Okay, the art style was amazing. You had to use your head to like lead the marble through the world, and there were like dangerous places where you didn't have to go too fast because then you would fall off the map and respawn. There were places where you could like collect like items as a collectible. You also had power-ups. But the more fun part is that in this game, they pretty much simulate that the character is putting on a headset. So the world you are in is like the Matrix. And when you use the marble, they play around with like the render distance in a very unique way. So the world renders in front of you. It's like glitching. And sometimes you see a plant loading up, but then it disappears and turns into something else because there's something going on, like a glitch, you know? So that was like the coolest thing, how they were playing with the render distance. And you could slow down your marble when you were like holding your like head at one spot. It would just pause and it wouldn't move anymore. So the mechanics are very nice. But I was like, I played it on the PlayStation VR, and I do like this game, but I feel like it's for standalone, and it's not something people on PC really want to play. You know, it's just not that much of a thrill. Now, I just played the first level, so I didn't play more, and it was getting more spectacular with platforms going up and down and things moving and chasing you. But I also told the developers, like, I like your game. I think it's very nice, but this is something I would play on standalone and not on PC. Like, PC people are expecting different things. They have higher expectations.
Yeah. Right. So you think it will be a popular one maybe for like the Go, Gear VR?
I think so. Maybe it's going to be popular on PC and console too, but I think other experience will overrule that feeling of this one. But it's just nice to have an indie out there that wants to do its own thing, even that maybe like you're selling more copies when you make a zombie shooter game, or like, I appreciate art, as I said before, and this is something where it's like, okay, you guys go for something else. And it's funny, one of the developers worked on the London Heist, so he was also doing something totally different, and that's very nice. I said a lot of nice, but
quick question for Nathie on this one. How did the marble physics feel for you? Because I think these marble games sometimes hinge on that.
Well, that's like, it was very polished. You could just drag your marble and you had like total control. You could make it faster, go slower. You didn't really have to drag your head to make it go faster. It was balanced in a good way, you know. And you could see, like, when the marble was going super fast, there was like a little like windy thing behind it, so you could see how fast you were moving it. And it's a difficult game. It gets more challenging along the way, because you need to pick up crystals, for example, and sometimes you can only do it once, so you need to do it in one take, and your marble goes down like a fast lane, and you need to make sure you don't fall and things like that. It's just that they showed me the first level and it was just way too easy. So I'm sure they came up with like much more stuff while they were in development. So it's kind of hard to judge right now. I would love to play some more. I would like to spend more time in it. Yeah. But for me, the story, like, they showed off the story at the start. It was just a cartoon. I was like, why not just add some voices? Because the soundtrack was crazy, a little bit like Stranger Things, a little arcadey, you know, very loud, very like impactful. But I was missing like a voice guiding me through the experience, because they aim for like an audience that wants to relax after a day of work. You know, they just want to sit down. We also heard Jason Rubin talking about that at the Coliseum. You know, more people seem to enjoy like playing something seated. So yeah, it's a cool game, but it's just that I would like to see some more. You know, this demo was more for the peasants that are too noob to play VR. But,
I think the thing is
no, but like, you know what I mean? Like usually press wants to play something easy and it doesn't need to be too hard.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I would like to play something more challenging to get more like the feel of a game. You know what I mean?
Certainly for me, Arcas Path is welcome for me because I really want to play it on the Oculus Go. So I think the Oculus Go, like, it started off with this really strong sort of like headliner of like really great games. A lot of them were older titles, but the newer sort of like more polished games have been really sort of slow to come about. So I really look forward to checking out this game on the go more than anything else. But I do tend to agree with you that maybe sort of PC VR gamers and even PS VR gamers probably might expect a little bit more from it. But you never know. Like you say, the later levels could be way more challenging and it could have some way more interesting dynamic that we haven't seen yet. But
I think there's a market for it though, because I remember like a lot of those games that were, I mean, of course, a specific group of people, like, you know, where you only had to control things with the mouse. Like just do that, and that was your only interaction. Also platformers where you like had to like drag things out. So I mean, I can understand that people might disagree with that and say like, oh, but I like playing these kind of things, just relaxing with the Rift maybe. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much in the same boat. I also want to get like more of that like immersive feeling and that kind of yeah, I understand that. Like
the majority on PC, I think will not be that interested in this one. But on a standalone, I think it's nice, and you can just sit back, relax, play it. You know, so. Yeah. Plus, they do their own thing. So, like, they decide to go for their own vision on VR, and that's what I appreciate.
It's
and
good.
They don't go for the big numbers. You know, they just go for something they wanted to create for a very long time now. So.
This just reminds me of Labyrinth. Did anyone else play that god-awful marble game where you got this board in front of you with a maze, and you have drop traps in this little metal marble that goes along, and you've got these two little dials on the side of the thing? I'm talking a physical, like, you can't call it a board game. It's like a box where you're rotating a platform.
No, like a glass display over it, and you have to kind of like turn it and try to get the marble into the middle of the maze. You mean that?
That's those kinds of things that you would find in like any, say, toy shop for kids or something.
Yeah,
what I'm talking about, you'd have to look it up. It's called Labyrinth. It's an ancient game now. I don't know who published it initially, but it was dastardly. And a lot of times these games feel that way to me, where like the marble, you know, you're slipping it between two kind of curved edges, and then it goes over the lip, and you're like, you can't. And it's that feeling that I'm expecting to get from this game.
Cool. So finally, let's just wrap this up with a final question. And if you're in the chat now and you're rewatching this and this is like the future of us, then just chuck in the chat as well. I'd love to know your answer because we will sort of be hanging around.
Yeah.
What was your best game of E3? So I'll start maybe with myself, because the other guys give you time to think. But for me, like, my best game of E3 in terms of VR was Stormland. I think that really sort of stole the show for me. I'm really excited about that game. I really like the look of the fact that it's an open world. They're going to be adding and changing the content throughout the week. So you can go and do like a loot quest one day and then it'll be different the next day. Plus, the most excited thing I am about that game is co-op raids. Like actually teaming up with you guys and going on a raid together, like a Destiny-style raid where we have to fight some gigantic worm or something like they showed in the trailer. I think that would just be so much fun, especially if they get some sort of like legendary item, like a legendary arm or something like that that makes me do something really cool like in the main game. So yeah, that's kind of why I'm excited about Stormland, and that's why it's this sort of game of E3 for me. But I wonder about you guys, like what's your sort of favorite VR game from E3 this year?
For me, well, I mean, of course, I think Stormland is indeed the most exciting one. For the rest, I mean, there was a lot of VR, but I think it was more like not on the show floor and more on the show floor and not during the conference itself. I like The Last of Us 2, but they're not bringing that to VR, I guess. But that would be really neat to see something like that.
That game looks awesome.
Yeah, that looks really good.
My one was like, I think it was shown on the floor, but we've heard about it. It wasn't news per se. It was, I think, Defector. The one, yes. You know, I'm really, really looking forward to that game dropping.
Yes. What about you, Nathie?
I wanted to say BioShock VR, but apparently I've been searching for it on the show floor. I spent hours and hours looking behind doors, looking into apartments, knocking on every door, but I couldn't find it. So that didn't happen. But I want to say Stormland 2, but since we haven't really seen like that much gameplay, and usually I'm a person who likes to say, okay, this was the game like of the E3 that I played, right? I mean, it's easier to say. So for me, it's like in the future, of course, Stormland might be a big hit, but as I said before, we haven't really seen that much of this game yet. So yeah, you can hype it up what you want, but I want to play it first. So for me, it's kind of hard because I want to go for something that really impacts VR. You know what I mean? So I didn't play that much. It's kind of hard to pick one. I like the one from Justin Roiland, but that's just a silly, freaking weird ass.
Trover Saves the Universe.
Yeah. And I mean, I like Vacation Simulator too, and I think Ghost Giant is also going to be a big push for third-person VR. Yeah. So I'm just picking 3 now. I'm cheating, but those for me were like the interesting ones. But I would also like to play the other ones that were on the show floor.
I look forward to the promotional material of Trover Saves the Universe saying best game of VR from.
I would love to have myself in the trailer. If they are watching, please make it happen and put a fake quote on there. I would freak out.
Yeah. So yeah, let's round up this week's show then. I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed this one. Apologies that we had to pre-record it, but sommes life gets
Mike,
in the way. And
your fault, Mike. Your fault.
Yeah.
Don't try to.
My life gets in the way.
Yeah, Mike. We want to do it live, but he didn't let us.
Mike.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, man.
Thanks.
Birthday.
Yeah, happy
Thank
birthday,
you guys.
Mike.
Thank you guys.
Happy birthday
Thank you.
yesterday.
Can we have some
Happy
cake
birthday
emojis
yesterday.
in the chat, please? Cake emojis and celebration emojis, please.
Yeah, we will check in. We will check in on the chat as it's restreamed live. I will check in and say hi to you guys and girls. But I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed this one. So yeah, that is the end of this week's episode. Just a reminder that it is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show live streamed every Saturday on Nathie's YouTube channel. Tune into the show live at the times of 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, 12 midday Central US. If you missed the live stream, check out the audio-only version on Google Play Music, iTunes, and on SoundCloud, or the re-upload, which I do every Sunday on my own YouTube channel, Virtual Reality Oasis. So I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed this one, and we'll see you live on next week's episode. So until then, bye-bye. Have a good week.
Bye.